This is me. Well, you can try to guess who I am on this picture. It's like 50-50 odds. It's a picture made in the first week of secondary school. I was born and bred in Amsterdam. My parents are from Suriname, former Dutch colony in South America and the Caribbean. Despite that, it went quite well in school. Did my thing, went on to the university. It was a similar story, but then often was the only one in the class with maybe 200 to 300 students, and there will only one or sometimes 2 or 3 black students. My name is Mitchell Esajas, and I am co-founder of the Black Archives. The Black Archives is a cultural center centered around the archive where we document and collect books, documents, and artifacts around Black history in the Dutch context. And based on that, we develop exhibitions and public programs. It was quite easy to find documents from the Dutch parliamentarians, and there were a few for the abolition of slavery, a few against, and all of them had different views about how and under which conditions. But if you wanted to know the perspective of the enslaved, it was almost impossible to find primary documents in the National Archive from that perspective. When you look at the European context, you have a long history of both countries and cities involved in histories of colonialism, slavery, and imperialism. So what you often see in the public space and in dominant historical narratives, the stories of certain communities are not part of the collective memory, not part of the public space. And yeah, what we try to do is make some of these histories, especially those related to Black people in the Netherlands and Amsterdam, part of that collective memory again. And this says it's a newspaper article from 1972. It appears to be a ritual to abuse Surinamese people. I think this one speaks for itself and doesn't need much explanation. Those histories are directly related to those dominant narratives which we still see today, to the public space, what kind of monuments we see in the city, what stories are told in musea and exhibitions, and also the way we deal with the legacy of this history in the form of racism, exclusion, migration, etc. And there was this interesting dynamic. Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and The Hague are what they call majority-minority cities. Traditionally, where white Dutch people were the majority, but since the past 10 to 20 years, it's a majority-minority city, meaning that there are several so-called minority groups, Surinamese, Turkish, Moroccan people, and other people, and none of them form the majority. So you have all kinds of different people with different cultural backgrounds living together in this dynamic city. I'm going to share a few examples of how we have been able to challenge these dominant narratives in the Dutch context, in Amsterdam specifically as well. And I want to look with the people at examples of dominant narratives in the German context or in Berlin, and how those can be challenged through creative activities and campaigns. One of my favorite projects, a mentoring program, the higher level or academic level of education, can directly be tied to structures of inequality within the educational system in the city. So we set up a program where we try to teach, mentor primary school children, but also a project where we try to connect students and graduates with businesses so they could find internships and jobs, because students and graduates with a migrant background found it more challenging to find a job. Yeah, I think Living the City is a very interesting exhibition. It brings together a lot of examples of people in different European cities organizing, mobilizing, developing creative initiatives around the challenges that they face in their respective cities. There are a lot of similarities between different cities, but also a lot of differences. So it's good to bring those together so you can learn from them and maybe take them back home. Choices are made about which stories we tell, which people we put on a pedestal, which people deserve a monument.